Welcome to today's webinar, Mission Transition Part 1, Tips and Strategies to Help Your Students Find Success in High School, offered by Kerilyn Redish, KUMDC School Liaison.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today and taking time out of your busy schedule as you guys serve as parents and caretakers and working and everything from home that we're doing right now. What we're going to talk about today is helping our students to be successful in high school. And to do that, let's think a little bit about what we know. So right now, what we know is that our students are participating as best they can in the distance learning environment that is created for them. We know that they miss their normal school routines, their teachers, their friends. We know that you miss their normal school routines, their teachers and their friends. We know that our schools, our support services, we know that you as parents, the state, have been continuously working to come up with innovative ways to provide services to our students while still keeping them safe and healthy at home. And we know, and this is really the big one that really pushed for this webinar, we know that so many of those transitional activities that schools often provide and offer at the end of the year for students to get comfortable with their next step, their transition, for example, from middle to high school, are unable to happen or haven't been able to happen in the same ways as they normally do. So the question is, what can we do? What can you do at home to help your child be ready? By the end of this session, we hope that you will be able to find ways to help your child feel more comfortable through building routines and creating understanding about their next step. We hope that you'll be able to build strength through connections and working on their self-advocacy skills, and help them to find success in school by understanding and being able to utilize those resources and support systems that are available in our schools. So here we go. High school just ahead. It's looming, right? Our next exit, whether you're coming from middle to high school, maybe you're going from 9th to 10th, or your student is 10th to 11th, or maybe you chose to stay in place, feeling that it might just be better for your student to stay where they are again for the upcoming year. Something to consider is all of these are examples of transitions. And even if your child remains in the same grade, believe me, your teenager is going to have questions and have to adjust to the idea of not moving on. Exercise. And I'm not going to make you exercise, don't worry. But let's think. Do you exercise? Do your kids, do your students like to exercise? Maybe the word exercise itself made you cringe just a bit. But I bet you exercise at least occasionally, because you know that it's important for a healthy life, right? Stay with me. Do you stretch before you work out? Maybe not quite as much if you're going to take a walk around the block, but a run or weight training, maybe you do circuit training or some of those free videos I've seen on TV, or take a bike ride. I bet most of us know the pain that comes from a new or strenuous workout, don't we? But we also know that if we follow the warm-up and the cool down, right, those stretches, that those are great techniques and strategies to help ease not only our mind into the new activity, but also our bodies, right, for recovering from that workout or being able to adjust to the new muscle groups being worked. And to me, this reminds me of what our students are going through as they transition from one school to the next or one grade level to the next. Probably affects you in the same way too. So now let's talk about some ways that you can help your child at home to be better prepared for their next transition. So talking. So let's think who, what, when, where, how, right? So who is going to be going? In some cases, your student may be moving from one class to another, could be in the same building, could be moving schools, with an entire group of students, okay? So if they're moving with a group of students, it's more likely that they have friends or acquaintances that maybe that can help them to feel a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes your child is moving maybe with their entire class, but we know that the classes can be mixed up. They don't know who will be in their classes next year. Sometimes we know that our schools come to forks, so to speak, where one, maybe you've moved, okay, or maybe your school and children and students going to the next age level will have to choose between schools, so they may not be going to the same place with all the same people they knew. So helping them to understand what is going to be happening. Is it going to be a move from one building to another, from one school to another, maybe just from one teacher to another. Maybe you're in the same school, new teacher. So helping them to understand the what. And how about when? I know at our house, we are really big on like countdowns. So we have the little block that says, 47 more days until the next person's birthday. We have the little chalkboard sign that we keep around for big holidays and kind of mark down how many days are leading up to the next holiday. Why? Because it builds excitement. It gives everyone in the house something to look forward to. Okay, that can work the same way and have that same positive experience when you're pushing new experiences in a positive way to our kids. So where is the new school going to be? Understanding its exact location and where it was relative to the school last year, and then how will things be the same or different? And now we're going to talk about a couple of ways to handle this. One thing I'd like to stress is to keep in mind as a parent, as a caregiver, as a teacher, right? To keep it positive and hopeful, keep that positive, hopeful tone for our students. These are two quotes that I personally really like and connect to. Over time, I've definitely learned that two people can look at the exact same thing and see something totally different. You know it. We know this. We can go through the exact same event, the exact same situation as our neighbor, as our best friend. We can walk the same 5K with the person next to us, and they are not feeling or experiencing or thinking the same things that we are. So getting perspectives in different places is a great way to help you to be ready for this transition as well. And then the other thing is what we see depends really on what we're looking for. If we're looking for the good, we're going to see the good. If we're looking for the obstacles, which we know that they exist, that's what we're going to see and focus on. So be mindful of your focus. Our children, as I said, feed off of our emotions. Many of them are looking to us not only to decide how they feel, but really, are they going to look forward to it? Are they going to worry about it? Is it going to be something that's good for them or bad for them? Let them experience things, and you put your best foot forward trying to help them get there the best way they can. Don't forget that your child's current teacher is a resource. So they are still there. They are still involved. You have teachers, maybe you're even the diagnostician, paraprofessional, whoever you have contact with at the school. If you have specific questions leading up to what's happening to your student for next year, do not be afraid to reach out and ask those questions. Always better to ask than to assume, right? So reach out and use them as the resource that they truly are. This is a time for new beginnings. So whether you're looking at a new school situation, a new classroom, maybe a new teacher, all of the above are different. They're all new for your student, and they all have the opportunity to be a positive experience. So one way to help your child be ready for next year is to give them this job, right? Scavenger hunt. Who doesn't love a scavenger hunt? And actually, I'm going to put this into a PDF. So if you come to our webinar next Thursday, then you'll be able to get this information from us to utilize it with your student. But have them go find this information, right? Make them do some of the legwork. So they can look at the school mascot, maybe finding out the address. Some students really like to know the details. They want to know who the principal is. They want to know what sports are there. They want to know how many students are there. If you're lucky enough to already know your student's teacher, fantastic. Let them get that. But let them play with this information and find these things out. It could be good for them. Now, there are some pretty easy ways to adapt this scavenger hunt. So depending on your child's ability, could be something that you actually participate and complete together. So you could sit down at a computer and each of you look up the information. Maybe they're going to find pictures on the internet to match the answers they find. Maybe they're going to just handwrite or type in the answers on a sheet of paper. If you have a student perhaps that you need to talk to, share this information with them, and then why not give them some options, right? So you're looking at a school mascot. You may have the sharks, the tigers, and the stingrays, and after you've explained to them about their new school, have them point to the picture that matches the mascot that their new school is, right? That'll give you an indication on whether or not they understand. So that's going to be a way for you to help adapt that situation or that assignment to your student. So another possible thing to do is looking at, now this is a Venn diagram. You could just as easily take a piece of paper, divide 3 categories, and write this, same things at the top. But let's think for a second about what's different and what's the same in high school, right? So did your high school already have rotating classes? Did your student already have to have transitions from one period to the next, changing teachers? changing subjects. Is your student going now to maybe where they have to have, potentially there are 7 or 8 class changes instead of 4 or 5? Is your student going to be working with different types of students or adults at this new school, right? Are they working towards different goals? Each of your schools probably offers some extra activities, probably had some sort of transition. And so helping them define what's going to be the same and what's different. High school, probably more independence, right? Field trip. So I'm thinking quarantine field trip, right? So driving to the new school. Your student has already looked up the address, you know where it is, if you're making a new school change, right? But go ahead and drive it out. Take the time from your house, for one, to find out how much time it takes to go from point A to point B, but also to help that become a more familiar route, right? Something more comfortable. They know where they're going. They know what to expect. Some of our students really want to notice landmarks. They want to be able to tell you along the way, this is where Bob lives. Here's the Publix we go to. Perhaps here's our church. So whatever, your student. Okay, so thinking about their needs, start looking into some of these things. Google Maps is actually really cool because in the upper right-hand side, you see there's a kind of over top view of a school, actually. And so you can kind of see the different fields and things like that. There's a picture of the front of the school. You could even go to the school, take a picture. I would. When your kid goes to high school, go take a picture of your student right in front of the school when they're freshmen. Great idea to do that. So that's just one way to help them feel more comfortable. Routines might be probably the best way, to be honest. If you look in the upper right hand picture, how many of us felt like that whenever everything changed, right? So the day our world stopped spinning the same way, we're all working from home, our students from home, our schedules are changed, we have work, we have school, we have dinner, we have laundry, and our students are feeling that way too. Now, our situation in ours is a bit different, but at the beginning of the school year, I think of all the new things they're having to balance, not only the new personalities and teachers and dynamics of a new school, but the time, that it takes to get used to those things as well. Versus the picture in the bottom right-hand button. If I were to ask you, which one of these two would you like your student, to resemble more? We're probably going to pick the young lady on the left-hand side, right? And that side, she's happy, her hair is kempt, she's dressed, her posture is fantastic. She appears open and ready to tackle whatever comes at her, right? But on the right-hand side, again, she's hunched over, disorganized, papers falling everywhere. I don't know if the squigglies are supposed to, maybe her hygiene isn't very good, or maybe she's just really confused and lost. And her facial expressions have to probably be the strongest indicator to me there. So the more comfortable and familiar that your student is with the new mornings before school starts, the better off they'll be. And that's true for many students. Many of our students really focus a lot on schedule. They need to know what's next or what to expect. So let's think about, have them work through some of these things. How much time do they need to get ready in the morning? Thinking about, some of our children have medication routines, bathroom schedules. They have to get dressed, get their shoes on, eat breakfast. They might need some downtime. Okay, a rush, quick schedule in the morning doesn't work for everyone. So helping your student figure out what they need. All right, what time do you have to leave the house? Are we looking at a longer or shorter commute than before? And if your student drives, they probably don't drive the bus, but if they do ride the bus, where is that bus stop? Probably in a new location than last year. A really cool thing that can be helpful is apps. Man, there are apps, seems like, for everything, actually. But there are really cool apps out there that you can use on a smartphone or a tablet or iPad. So that gives, a bit of variation depending on what your student is using. But if your teen needs to be poked or prodded, or just generally works better with guided routines, which is most of our kids, then why don't we give one of them a try? So for one, by using an app, or could be a checklist, okay, to help our students get ready in the morning as best they can by themselves, you are helping them to work towards their independent living goals. And that's where it's at, right? That's where we're ultimately leading to. We want to give our students skills, right? The earlier the better, that they can, utilize and grow so that they can take care of themselves. So using apps like this allows them some freedom in making their own choices. And we just talked about that, but how long do they need to get their things done? It gives them independence in the morning instead of you yelling, because let's be honest, if you're yelling or gently pushing, probably yelling and gently pushing, your children to get out of bed, to get ready, to get their stuff, to get organized, to get out of the door, then you're starting your morning off in a bit rough way, and that affects them at school too. Okay, so how can we help that? How can we fix that? I can't promise these apps are going to fix everything, but they can, and they do have the potential to make things better. So Alarmy is an awesome one, especially if you have a child like we had a student graduate last year. And it's amazing because he could not wake up by himself until after he graduated. And then suddenly he could hear his alarm and get up and he can make it to work on time. It's a miracle. So probably more because we were enabling him by waking him up every day, right? So we should push a little bit more of that independence on them. But Alarmy offers extra loud. They have vibration options that are different than a normal phone. It's really cool. You can also add things like solving a math problem, shaking it, or even taking a picture of something that you've pre-designated for the alarm to go off, which is nice. Time tune, if you look out to the left, you'll actually see a breakdown of how, one of the ways that it could be set up. And time tune is kind of like a routine maker. So whether it's your morning routine, your after school routine, or maybe just a bit, maybe you have medications to take during the day and you need to be prompted to go to the nurse's office to take their medications, perhaps that could be helpful. But you can set this up. This one has 7:30, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And then they can write a brief description for what it is and how long they need for it. And that could be all they need. The bottom one is called Really Routines, and I really like that one. If you've got a visual learner, if you're a student, your teen really reacts better to pictures, and that's kind of where they are, perfect. Man, this one, if you look at the sample, it has 7:11 a.m. until 8 a.m. And then you select the pictures that go along with each activity and the amount of time they need. So then what they're doing is they're clicking on the pictures as they complete them, and then it moves them to their next activity. So a lot of options out there, and certainly those are free. They probably have upgrades or whatever, but those options are great. And finding something that works for your student and where they are. Get Spirit. We've got Spirit. Yes, we do. So helping your student to feel excited and involved and part of something bigger than them. So in this case, knowing the school mascot. Okay, they've looked it up already. You help them. How about if you have an artistic student, why not allow them, or maybe even give them an assignment right now that relates to making some spirit gear, some posters, something related to their new school, something to build some excitement, something they can place in their room to remind them every day of what they're going to be from now on, right? A lot of stores too. In fact, I was just at Walgreens near us, and they still have high school gear for our local high school, which was neat to still see. So a sense of belonging and being part of a team could be just what your student needs to help them to feel excited about this transition. So let's recap a bit. So I'm thinking about comfort. We talked about answering the who, what, the when, the how for your student. Again, you know your child. Some of them want a lot of details. You help them figure it out as best they can, but just the more information our students have, just like us, we want to know information to feel more comfortable. Keep it positive, okay? Try not to add too much to your child's anxiety or nervousness. They're going to have their own level, and we don't want to, increase that at all. Utilize the scavenger hunt for important information, and remember that I will be sharing that next Thursday. Look for the similarities and differences from one school to the next. Take a field trip or drive around the new school. Maybe even practice like the parent drop-off part, right? Practice routines using apps or schedules. Get spirit gear to help your student feel part of the school. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is building strength. And let's talk about, making connections. We know that humans need connections. How are our kids connecting? Okay, we know they're connecting. How are they connecting? Are they connecting enough? Right now, we're in, a different awkward kind of time. How can we help them to make, build, and keep connections as they move through? These are skills that are going to help them through their lifetime. Connections to peer groups and friends. Okay, we know that our friends, we know that our peers are extremely important for our youth. Many of them are still hanging out, so to speak, with their friends on social media platforms. Certainly as a parent, that's, up to you whether or not you allow or monitor how you feel about these things. Most of our teens are on it, so these have definitely shown that. So whether that's going to be on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, FaceTime, texting, Hangouts. A lot of school districts are using Google Hangouts or Google Meets or Zoom platform like ours is. If you have children who play video games, most of those video games that connect to the internet do offer interfacing that allows for texting or chatting back and forth with other people. That's important to be mindful of. And if you're not a gamer, not all parents know that. Definitely not by any means. So many experts suggest that if your teens are on social media, that parents create their own account and then follow their teen back. Okay, not in a mean way, but to follow what they're doing so that you can see what they're doing, what they're posting, who they're connecting with. Talking with your teen. So talk about what you see. Talk about what they see. Talk about what they post. Keep those lines of communication open. Okay, open and non-judgmental. Notice what they post, what they share. Be honest and genuine and how you're reacting to their posts, because we can all think back to our own parents. And if, the way my parents approached communication with me definitely set off how I was going to respond. And you want to keep that genuine. We want our students to feel like they can come to us. And to be honest, in this case, social media it's a new ball game for all of us, and helping them to understand how their actions, what they're doing online is sending messages about themselves, about what they believe to other people. Okay, so paying attention to their friends' behaviors as well, like who they're associating with. And I know in our house we do, we have expectations and we stick to them. So we have 3 teenagers, they're all on social media. We follow them back, and we have some rules. So TikTok is real big with the kids right now. And we don't want to, I don't want to hear cussing. So if there's a song that has cussing in it, they shouldn't post it, they shouldn't make a video, and they shouldn't be sharing it. Knowing like the people they're connecting to on their Instagram or on their Snapchat, those should be physical people that they know, not connecting to strangers where we have no idea to know who they are. And that's probably a big one. So just parents knowing your own comfort level and being able to help your student navigate the kind of uncertain waters of social media. There's a lot of good that can come out of social media, a lot of groups for parents even to find support on social media, but knowing your comfort level and helping your child navigate it so that they don't come across big problems. So communicating outside of social media. So communication skills we know are a strength. The Department of Labor has a really awesome program called Skills to Pay the Bills. And it's a program out of the Department of Labor. The soft skill covers, I'm actually going to show you a short video, and this video covers some soft skills in relation to employability, some stereotypes for teenagers if we're being if we're being honest, but really getting them to look at do's and don'ts per se. So I'm just going to show you a quick clip here.
Are you, Mr. Madison?
Miss Madison, I assume you're Travis Wilson. You're a bit late.
Oh, hey, sorry, man.
Have a seat.
Sure. Thanks, dude.
So, Mr. Wilson, do you have any experience in the insurance field?
Well, one time my dad showed me his, car insurance bill or something. He was
that continues just a bit. And then let's go to this one. Great, you can see how it can be great conversation for you and your child.
Mr. Wilson.
Oh, hi. Travis Wilson here for my 9 o'clock interview.
Ooh, right on time. Come on into my office.
Thank you. And here's an extra copy of my resume in case you need it.
Great, thanks. So, Mr. Wilson, do you have any experience in the insurance field?
No, ma'am, I don't. But people tell me that I'm a quick learner, and I always welcome a challenge.
So even just in that example, you can see how you can really kind of bring into have them point out what's good, what's not so good here. There's the same teen is actually speaking in the middle. It's a very short video. They have a whole series. There are 7 of these videos. And these soft skills, our teens need them. I can tell you, having been in a high school, having worked in a high school office, they are walking around very much just like that young man, headphones in, walking into any office. They're very rarely aware of with whom they're supposed to be meeting. You know, just some of those basic communication and manners, right? And so just emphasizing it, but not really talking about what your student is doing, but letting them pick apart some of the things that the teenagers in these videos are doing, and then pointing out when you see them doing the right thing, okay? So that's a 7-part video series from the Department of Labor. You can actually connect to it. It's actually on our website as well, on the KUMDC website under resources. You can find a connection there, but it's also on the Project 10 transition resource, very easy to find at the end, and I'll show you that resource when we end. There's a parent resource guide about social media, the good and the bad. There is a lot of good in social media, but we really have to be aware as parents of the bad. And the Department of Labor actually provides a couple, I think it's 3 or 4 page PDF file for you to look over, and I've included that here as well. So let's communicate in the community. If we were able to go out to eat, man, the restaurant would really offer, you know, some great opportunities for your student to request a table, you know, taking into consideration, does your family like a booth, or maybe you need a booster, or maybe wheelchair access. But even though we're not able to go out to eat, maybe we're not really ordering drinks while we're sitting down around the dinner table at home, right? Unless you want to, you could certainly role play. Like, that could be a good idea, role play. You know, let someone take turns with ordering drinks or getting the extras that someone might need, drink refills. But as you sit down as a family with friends during this time, use this opportunity to really focus on those social skills that our students need. Our teenagers need them. They need them to be successful. They need them to help them make connections with other people. Okay, when you're sitting in a group of people around the table, let's just look at these conversation starters, considering the appropriate voice level with which they're speaking, interacting with others in conversation. And conversation, remember, is 2-way. Some of our teens, okay, some of our children need to be reminded that they can't just come and over-inform everyone about every detail that they're thinking. Some of our kids have to be reminded with cues to stop and to ask other people their point of view. Okay, so we've got to think about their point of reference and how they're functioning to know what skills to work on with our students. But how about help them with some conversation starter ideas? Okay, why not take turns, everyone going around the table and starting a conversation, helping and modeling for our teens and our children how to, you know, move a conversation forward, how to compliment someone, how to ask for more details, how to wait their turn. Right, that's a big one, not interrupting and waiting their turn. And then I have heard of many families who have cell phone rules, either all the cell phones go in a basket before dinner. I've even heard of things at night, like if you're worried about that with your teen, you know, having a place where everyone's cell phone is plugged in, you know, in the parents' room, or maybe it's off and charging, to avoid some of the issues that can come with using cell phones and social media later at night. All right, joining a club or sport, love this one. So start thinking now. School may not start, you know, until August, and we don't really know what's going on right now with the extended school year, but it is not too early to be thinking and helping your child think about their skills and interests in relation to activities and extracurricular clubs. So do you have a musician? Maybe they play an instrument. Maybe they just like to sing. Maybe they just like to be around music. Maybe they want to be in the marching band. Take notes of those things. Do you have a student who enjoys volunteering? Whether they enjoy volunteering with you or they have their own places to get out there and get involved, there are opportunities. There are places on campus and many places around the community where our students are encouraged to volunteer. Does the school have some sort of reduce, reuse, recycle, or green club? Those are really popular, and maybe that's an interest for your student. That could be an avenue for them to make more connections, build relationships, and expand their communication and confidence. Student government or student council is a great way to get involved. Foreign language clubs. Maybe you're a dual language family. You have a child who is bilingual or they're taking a language class. What a great way to get out there and meet people who have similar interests, experience, and make friends, right? They can not only practice, but make friends as well. Art, big one. So could this be they're in an art class and they're expanding it to after school? Maybe it's an art club that's not even at the school, but they participate in extracurricular activities through some other organization. Photography club, that could be fun. Does your child like to dance? I know Indian River County does a program with both of the big high schools where their ESC and Gen Ed students work together. They create this awesome, super fabulous dance and singing show. They do that twice a year. It's fantastic for the students. It's great for the families. It's great for our whole student body and our community. And sports. Okay, so whether your child is a super sports fanatic, or maybe they're really gifted in a sport, or maybe they have a skill that you think would transfer into a sport, help them find out when these sports start and really get them going. And again, if your student likes to play games, whether that's chess, video games, talking to the school and finding out what activities might be out there could be a great way for your students to make connections again. There are some things to consider when we think about clubs and sports. So, for example, a lot of times extracurricular activities and sports are meeting either before school, but I think usually after school. And that may involve you having to have your student use a late bus or find alternate transportation. So that's something to consider kind of before you're really pushing them out the door to get involved in this other group, if it's going to be something they're able to do schedule-wise or transportation-wise. So also knowing that some sports actually begin their tryouts or practices before the school year begins. So don't be afraid to reach out to the school to get that information. I'm thinking like football and volleyball, I'm pretty sure do, diving, swim team, things like that may do the same thing. So getting that contact information from the school. Why not find a friend, a sibling, maybe even someone else from your religious group that is about the same age as your child and has a similar interest. Sometimes it's just another friendly face, right? Especially if it's a friend, but another familiar face can really give them the strength and comfort to move forward. And something else I hadn't thought of, parents, you being out there, or an uncle or an older sibling being out there and volunteering with the team, either as a coach or manager or something, could also really be just what your student needs to get out there and get involved. So be ready to meet new people and to make new friends. And then remind your student that it is okay to feel nervous. So many kids nowadays, I really think, if they feel nervous, if they're unsure about something, they tend to, or at least in the past, the students that I've worked with, so many of them tend to not move forward with this new thing, whether it's a job application or trying out for a club, because they're nervous and they're not sure how it's going to be. Our kids need us to advocate and to remind them that it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay if we don't get it either. But the most important thing is the process to try. Okay, so encourage them to get out there and try. Practice makes better. So the more that your teen is able to practice and interact with others, okay, then hopefully the less nervous and anxious they're going to feel. So here are just some ideas for ways you can practice helping them meet new people or interact with people that maybe they don't interact with always. They could be part of a community or religious group that you may be part of. Friends who have kids, and this could even be online. Okay, I know right now it's a bit different. I've heard of some churches are going to do drive-up services, right? So that could be a possibility for you. Just out the window, having them, hey, tell them hi over there. What are you going to say? Helping them with some of those things. So friends with kids, Maybe you go to the park or another public place with you there. I am not suggesting to send your students out to speak to strangers, but to speak to strangers in a somewhat organized or safe place, and you're there with them to help them decide who to open up those conversations with. Maybe even a game night by other teenagers in your area. That could be a fun way. Time management. Okay, so if we're looking at building strength, we need to help our students to build their time management skills. This visual is just kind of a general. This may actually look pretty similar to what your days look like now. And notice that it doesn't have like a micro time. 9:15 is reading, 9:45 is mathematics, 9:57 is PE, a little, probably a little bit less stringent. Although I have heard of families following their exact school schedule as best they can at home. And that's because they know that that is what their child needs. Your child, adapt and do what you can to help them and to help yourself. Okay, we know this is hard. As best you can. So something like this could be important, where in the center it has all their activities, so all the things they're going to have to do listed. And then some of the activities that need supports are listed out on the right with how are they going to be receiving those supports. Florida Shines is a really cool, really great free website for all Floridians. Okay, it's open for all of our students. The information rests there. And I'll actually be covering some of these things next week when we talk about helping our students figure out, what they want to be when they grow up. So Florida Shines can actually help in that sense too. They have a lot of cool things there. But in this one, this is time management, and it's geared towards teenagers. It gives them some tips, gives them some ideas, what kind of to-do list to do. One of the pages has them kind of document how much time do they spend sleeping in a week, right? So without writing it down, I think most of us would probably grossly under or over exaggerate almost everything we do. But having them really document and write that down to get a good solid idea of how they spend their time can help them to better manage their time, which is what's in the bottom right hand corner. So if your child is on the level to be able to do something like this independently, fantastic. This might be a tool that they could use. Here's one, self-advocacy and self-determination. Now, whether you are reading these and answering them based on what your child says, or whether your teen is doing them on their own, please encourage them to be honest. It's not a test. There are no grades assigned based on how they do this, but answering these honestly is really going to help you and them get a better idea of really what their goals are, what supports they might need, and how to best help them move forward. And feel free to share these at your next IEP meeting as well. But you'll see some of these questions are, I set goals, to get what I want or need. And it's either 3 is almost always, yeah. 2 is sometimes, and 1 is, And they can answer that honestly, right? How about the other one has, I can describe my strengths. I can describe my weakness. I can explain my, disability. Those are all important skills for our students, and also available on the resources I'll have listed at the end. So some things we can do now are help our students set personal goals. So encourage your teen to set some. And how often do they think goals can only be related to school? Not true, definitely not true. I mean, our little brain down here that's working out, that's why we have distance learning in place right now. Our students have to keep thinking. They have to keep some of their processes, some of their routines, practice using their brain, right, to keep it strong. So personal goals they can work at home. They can, how about getting their room organized? And I didn't just say clean, because in their mind, if you've got teens like mine, they like to hide things. But helping them to organize their room. Okay, maybe just show them a little and have them do little sections at a time. That's a great skill, very great skill. Doing their own laundry. Now, whether they can do their own laundry, if you were to show them from start to finish, or whether you trust them with big machines. We had a whole process over here at our house, let me tell you. But can they start their laundry? Can they move the laundry from the washer to the dryer? Can they take the laundry out of the dryer? Do they know how to fold everything and put it away? I mean, all of those are skills. Those are independent living skills. Those are life skills they need to know how to do. Are they exercising? Are they practicing good hygiene every day? Yes, we brush our teeth every day. Yes, we change our underpants every day. And yes, we should be getting dressed, right? Maybe not dressed as much as we would to go to school, but we can't be wearing the same clothes for days on end. Okay, academics goals. It is not too early to start thinking about next year's academic goals. Could be pertaining to their grades, could be goals for not having missing work. Okay, maybe you're already starting to think about things like staying after school for tutoring or creating a schedule for study time. How about job goals? Volunteering to gain job experience is a great one. Okay, learning how to complete a job application, you can do that now. And looking at the different types of applications. So maybe they're not filling out an application that they're going to turn in, whether they're not old enough or not quite ready, to have a job, but working through and helping them fill those out as practice is great. It really is. Practicing interviewing skills, or even using like the videos I showed earlier, the skills to pay the bills. Those videos would be great to answer and identify a lot of these. And then the last part just says to use career and interest profilers, which again, I'll be really focusing on next Thursday, but to help them identify their strengths, their skills, and their interests. And we have to be really careful that we're helping our students to find their interests so that we can develop their strengths and skills for their jobs, right? Or for their future outcomes. We can't be matching their skills or their job to where we think they need to be. We really need to be helping our students develop their own interests and then helping them to build the skills to get what they'd like to, where they'd like to be. So recapping, building strength. Humans need connections. Our kids need human connections. So social media connections can be fantastic, but be mindful. Okay, be aware of your own boundaries, your own information, and set them with your children. Strengthen communication skills at home could be through video practice, could be through practicing actually skills through role playing, right? There are many benefits to joining a club, sport, or community group. Encourage friends to get involved in the process too. And then practice makes better. Okay, these things can really help with anxiety. Making use, and I'd say probably a big one for strength is going to be that time management, my goodness. So really helping them to honestly evaluate their use of time and their self-advocacy skills, and then having them set some personal goals and actually work towards reaching them. Very important. All right, so as we're thinking about building success in schools, and these are things that once school is back in, these are things that you're going to want to have on your mind, and you can research some of them now so that you're prepared and ready to utilize them. So tools that can be helpful: academic support centers, after-school tutoring labs, online resources, friend or family member, and then becoming familiar with the grade management program. The hurdle over here I love, because we hit a little hurdle. We've all been there. Our kids have been there. And they make it over and they're like, whew, everything's good. But you know what? We're going to have hurdles our whole life, okay? Our whole essence of being is about coming to obstacles and overcoming them. And so much of how we're able to do that defines our success in life, period. So just helping our students find ways to overcome obstacles or prevent them from becoming obstacles to begin with. So when we're thinking about academic support centers or after-school tutoring labs, and that's going to be for you to figure out within your own district what's offered and what's available. Many of those programs offer certified teachers after school, or some even have programs throughout the day, or certain periods or certain days after school available to students. Some schools also offer special areas or room for ESE students specifically to come in and get that extra help. Some schools have tutoring that could be student to student. So some of them are, bringing in students who are strong in whatever their subject is and having them to work with other students to develop projects or to complete their homework. There are also students who choose to stay after school because, and this is from my experience, what kids have told me, but staying after school to get their homework done helps them to stay focused and on task so that when they go home, they handle what they need to at home and they're able to relax. So that could be, if that works for your student, that's fine. Often they can get help for areas, and I don't know about you, but there are some things our students are working on that I do not know the answers to. And by the time I look up the video to reteach myself that skill, it's taken so long. Okay, so sometimes having our students to recognize the areas that we may not have the skills in we really need to push them to get help for those things at home, or excuse me, at school. And then specific teachers may also have tutoring hours before or after school. So that's important if you have a child, kind of what I just said, but in a specific subject who's having an issue, knowing that teacher's contact information and their specific tutoring hours. Managing the grade management program to me is key. Not only do your students need to know how to use it as best they can, but as a parent who needs to be and wants to be informed and aware of what's going on with their student, this is important and imperative. So things that you can get from a grade management program are going to be accessibility to your students' daily attendance, their current grades, so you can actually access what their grades are right now. You can notice if they have missing work or words that are assignments, that are not yet turned in. Assignment information, and some schools and some teachers put more information in there than others. Some places you can actually access the links to the actual assignments themselves. You can find out your teacher's information as far as the teacher in the classroom. If you have a facilitative teacher or a case manager assigned to your student as well, which they do, a lot of times that information is found here too, or their counselor's information. Some school districts also have other information available to the parents and could even send information out potentially about like when you have an upcoming meeting or something like that. So we talked a little bit about morning before school routines. So just very quickly, let's look at after school routines. Schedules, courses, and exact amounts of homework, we don't know that. Okay, that's months away from being known. But there are things that we can have our kids kind of inventory, right? So we can have them make a list, an inventory, if you will, of their wants, their needs, and then other. So their wants those are the things after school that they like to do. Okay, those are not that have to do, but those are the things they really like to do. And guess what? It's really important for our teens, just as it is for us, to have things that they really like to do and have time set aside to do it. Okay? So time to decompress, whether that's reading, please tell me that some of our kids still read, social media, TV, or projects, okay? And then the needs, their homework, do they have chores? Do they need extra time or special time set aside for personal care? Obviously, showering is important. And then prepping for the next day, that's a great skill to teach them, whether it's laying out their outfit, packing their lunch, having those things set up. And then those are things they don't have control over, but parent, maybe it's your schedule, maybe it's a caretaker's schedule, maybe they're involved in a group or club, or you have, a specific, community engagements during the week. So finding that out, or maybe services, maybe your child has their, services or therapy on certain days of the week. Those need to be noted, okay, because that's taking time out of their after school kind of plans. And then making a tentative schedule or a chart, or using an app. Okay, possibly something that could be helpful would be to talk to an older friend or a sibling or maybe even a neighbor for tips, either on how to manage their after school routines or just in the transition process itself. We all can learn from other people who have been from where we are, right? So whether they were really successful or they struggled, believe me, they have a story and they would love to share it with you. So as we think about how can we help our team build success, so identifying the tools and resources that are available to both your teen and to you at your school, okay, or even in your community. But knowing what they are and not being afraid to reach out and ask and find out. Take advantage of those tools. All right, they're there to help. Seek tutoring either through specific teachers at the school or with others if you need help. It's much harder to dig out of a hole. That's an all messed up sentence right there. But seek tutoring, don't be afraid to seek tutoring, and I do apologize for that, but it is much easier to fix things as they start going down than it is, to dig out of a hole. We have all been in a spot where we are digging out of a hole. That's really hard. Take advantage of the grade management system offered by your school, and then some of them are even sending reminders out about from IEPs and other information out about parents or parent meetings, and then plan ahead. Okay, implement a routine to help your students to stay focused and get it done. And most of all, be sure to offer for yourself and for your teen, right? But be patient, show compassion, be understanding and accepting with encouragement, but have expectations, okay? Give them the love, the support, and the help that they need to help them find their voice. This is a difficult time for not only your teenager, but also for you, and that's we just know that. I'm gonna show a quick video to you guys. It's one of my favorites before I do the resources. All right, so I'm going to show this video that I've used in my classes for years. The kids always get a kick out of it, but I want to see if maybe we can make a connection to our teenagers in this transition and being successful in high school, and see if we can make that relevant.
That's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are 2 people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? Help! 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 I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do. That's it.
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he could fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Walking down the sidewalk, kicking my feet as I'm moving to the music. Step to the beat. I woke up today, canceled all my plans, and
Present slide. Okay. All right. So hopefully that video you can, draw some connections between our students or potentially maybe even ourselves at times, where we are able to do things to help in our child's process, or even finding the next step, or maybe it's just reaching out and letting someone know that our child is struggling, maybe they need help, or maybe we just have questions. So helping our children from becoming like those people on the escalator who literally stopped when they could have taken the steps. Maybe they wouldn't have been easy steps, right? It takes going up gravity. So it could have been a little bit difficult to move, but getting them to move from point A to point B on their own, or with those supports, and not being afraid to ask. So as I come to resources, I'm reminded of one other thing. And as our kids are moving from middle to high school, we know that they are not communicating with us in the same way. And my coworker did a presentation called, or a webinar called The Race to Communicate last week. And one of the big takeaways that I pulled from his presentation is to really watch our children with our ears and to really listen with our eyes, right? So it sounds a bit twisted, but if we think about it, they're not coming home. Oftentimes our students are not telling us whether they had good days or bad days or frustrations or letdowns or excitement. So we have to watch their behavior, and whether that behavior is going to be that they're not having as many outbursts or negative attitudes, or whether they're going to be more loving or hugging or just more willing to, be around us, or not as snappy, or maybe they're more snappy, right, or more irritable. So really paying attention to those nonverbal cues, tone of voice and things like that. So resources that can be helpful to you, you'll see we've got Kaiser University's, that's our website right here. And if you click there and look under resources or even under technology, you're going to find a whole bunch of information that can be helpful to you. We have Fiddler's website as well, Project 10's PDF, their website, and TAC and PSER. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day.